Hey everyone, and welcome to the grand launch of the 5-day plan by Ashish Rastogi. Let me quickly share my screen. For those who haven't seen the cover yet, look at this gorgeous cover. So this has recently been released just a few days back, and it has been receiving overwhelming response from readers, and that's why it's been trending on Amazon. So what is it all about? We will reveal soon, and Ashish will speak more about it. Let us know a little more about him. Ashish is a physician, medical research professional from India. He has self-published a thriller, The Broken Code, in 2018, and a sports rom-com, All the Lines to Cross, in 2020. Nine Star Press published his first LGBTQ plus work, Shy, in November 2022, which was also a great success. Many people posted positive reviews about it, and for its genre, which is not really common in India, it's been doing really well. When Ashish is not busy managing his medical research company, he writes poems, stories, and dabbles in art and painting. Ashish, man of the moment, how does it feel to have your second novel in this genre out?
I think I was pretty like everybody's anxious, when the book is going to be releasing, and to get the first ARC reviews just before I would say the launch gives you a level of comfort that you know what you are about to face when you go into the world. I'm very happy with the feedback I've got. So when I was building this character in words, I had something in my mind for this for Akhil, and I think when the readers are able to interpret those words and build that figure in their minds, I think I've done my job with this character and this story. So that has been, I think, a most satisfying moment for this book as of now.
Why this genre? I mean, like Broken Chord was a medical thriller, then All the Lines to Cross, again a rom-com. For Shy and the 5-day plan, you've written about a gay romance. So did this genre, you did you start writing in this genre just out of the blue, or did some inspiration strike? How did the transformation happen?
I think I would call it transformation. I would say like all the lines to cross is also a sports romance. Shy is also a sports romance, and this one is also technically a sports romance. Uh, so sometime in 2018, I think a seed was planted in my mind. Someone who had read my first two novels, and they said that uh, have you thought about writing about an LGBT character? And with that thought, it had been lying with me for quite some time. And then suddenly, I would say, Saransh character appears. Uh, I'm not a plotter. So as a writer, I'm not a plotter. I don't plot. And, it's just that inspiration, that scene has to come to me, that character has to come to me. And then when I went into the background research for Shy, uh, I was looking at, how dating works in this community. And in one of those, I was watching a YouTube video, and a very interesting episode where this man is, paired with a celebrity on a date on a reality TV show, and it goes bad because obviously, many of us, when we meet a celebrity, it becomes awkward. We don't know how to react. We don't know what to say, and so same thing, I suppose, happened with this person. And I went into a rabbit hole, dug deeper, and I realized that this person was, trolled for that date. And of course, with the celebrity, you know what's happening with their lives. So I think that's where Akhil was born. While I was writing Shy, where Akhil was born, and I thought, what happens to this person? This person is an unknown. He goes back to his life. everybody knows about his disaster because it's reality TV and everybody has seen it. So what happens to this person? And from that, I think Akhil was born. And I think Akhil was more like a a fun character, a very fun person who is I would say pushed into a corner because of this, and then how he comes out of it. So that's how this entire thing unraveled, I would say, and how I got into writing this genre. And because I was doing a lot of research on the LGBT community, working with a lot of sensitivity readers, so it proved to be it proved to be a smooth ride with Shy and then with this 5-day plan.
Amazing. I mean, it's just been released and already so many reviews are pouring in, and rank is increasing day by day. So wishing you all the best for that. Let us know a little more about how writers perceive you. The first speaker today is Nolan. Uh, well, he's an award-winning author. He's born in Toronto, making him the first Canadian-born member of his family, whose roots are set firmly in Liverpool, England. Throughout his life, Nolan's restlessness encouraged relentless travel to many countries, and in 2012, he finally settled in India. In October of 2021, Nolan released his debut crime thriller fiction novel, Blood and Brown Sugar, which won him the coveted Emerging Author of the Year 2022 from Kyoto Publishing and was voted Best Fiction 2022 by Literary Voice magazine. His most recent work, A Crate of Rags and Bones, was launched in December 2022 and is a bestseller. He is now preparing for the release of his next book, a sequel to Blood and Brown Sugar. So Lee, in Blood and Brown Sugar, as I remember, you have LGBTQ characters, and you have written about these in your short stories, I think, as well. So what do you feel? I mean, does this genre has some potential in India? Do you think it will find its readers?
Oddly enough, I think it will, and more legitimately than it will in other parts of the world. I mean, in Ashish's novel, for example, it's set in England. And I know England, Canada, North America in general, it's hip to be gay at the moment. It's hip to be bi. It's cool to be transgender. It's a fad almost, and I say that with respect to the people that truly are. And, and I obviously respect the community greatly. But in India, it's not taboo per se, but it's still an undiscovered and an unexplored area of humanity and of sexuality. Not that it doesn't exist, it surely does. There's a thriving an underground homosexual community in India, but it's not spoken about openly. So I think that's what's so innovative, pardon me, and exciting about what Ashish is doing, is he's bringing it to the forefront in a very subtle way, and I think it's going to be accepted in a much more mainstream literary way than it would be, say, in Toronto or in New York, where it's just another gay book.
So Ashish, don't you think, like, with this book you have tried to encourage people to be more open about their sexuality and not just be boxed into the categories that society tells us to? I mean, just conform to a particular trend. So do you think with these novels you're trying also to send out a message?
That's an interesting thought, Chitra. And what I would say is, when you start reading about this community, when you start understanding about the community and the challenges, the circumstances in which many of them have to live their lives, it's very heartbreaking one, and it's very eye-opening. And so when I was working on Shy, there was a lot of things that came up that really helped me understand. And even though these are romance novels, these are fiction. So behind the scenes there is something going on. So with Shy, you have a character who is struggling with coming out, and he's forced to come out. And then even after he comes out, he has a lot of challenges. The love interest is already out, and they also are facing the challenges. So that a novel was more about two people on either side of the closet, and they still are facing challenges. This novel, The 5-Day Plan, looks at another aspect. Akhil is a very confident person. He is out. He developed in his mind and his you know a plan to be at a stage in his life where he doesn't have to live in the closet. He's confident in that sense. He finishes his education. Develops his career, and he comes out to his parents. But again, because of the stigma and because of various factors, they don't accept him. And so this novel, behind the scenes, if you remove the romantic comedy part of it, you realize there's a question of acceptance by your natal family, by your own family. A very capable person, a very confident person is rejected just because of their sexuality or the way they are. And at the same time, this novel shows you another family who is accepting and who is, I would say, on the other extreme, where they are very accepting and they are very meddling. So they want the best for their son, and therefore they do certain things which actually make this novel a little more comedic than typical, where the comedy is only between the main character and the love interest. So the side characters in this novel also play a very important role when it comes to that. So coming to my point, this novel is again, presenting another aspect for the LGBT community, where you have the natal family and the pain that causes these people, these persons, and how one deals with that.
Thank you, Ashish. I mean, it's really important to, just overcome that stigma. And that stigma is kind of deep rooted because it just doesn't come from strangers. It also comes from within our own families, within the very fabric of the society that we have been born and brought up in. So in relation to that, I would like to ask Priya a few questions. First, let me just quickly introduce her. Priya Nayak Gole, she's a pediatric speech language pathologist by profession and a very talented writer, yoga practitioner, and singer by passion. She writes thrillers, pathos, predominantly. She self-published a thriller in 2020, and her next is in the pipelines, later to release early next year. Her work can be read on her website, www.fictionvilla.com. That's very successful, I must say. So Priya, I have a couple of questions for you, okay? Because you have been writing stories involving diverse characters. So I've seen your stories involving transgenders, LGBTQ, and you write on the societal aspect of these. You actually write about the stigma, the trauma that these characters face, and how, the entire settings are based on this. So I've read a couple of your stories. So since Ashish has just released the 5-day plan, what do you have to say about the societal aspect of this? Of these characters, and how can we relate them to the actual things that are happening in the society?
See, I think when we are as writers, we actually land up writing what we experience or what we have had in the background. Like, he's also a medical professional, and I work with the specially able, and so we deal with a lot of mental health issues facing myriad kind of characters. Now, when I have written stories in this regard, in this genre, particularly on transgenders, the eunuchs, actually, to be specific. So when I had participated in an event, I write on various platforms. So one of them, which became a very hit story, won prizes and whatever, it was about a medically the eunuch which happened because of a medical condition. And when I was researching for that, it took me almost a month to read up, and there was so much of literature and stories and blogs and all. And at that time, I was, and exactly as Ashish ji said, there is so much of information and misinformation. So there is why the stigma comes. It's because of misinformation. because we are not aware of a lot of things. We are just, living in that shell. We have that prejudice against a particular community. We are brought up like that. So so awareness is a crucial part of it. And I'm so glad that he's come up with a novel, even the earlier one. And the main thing about this, he's written it so sensitively. Because when we write this story, now currently this month I've been writing on different platforms. It was the Pride month, and there were various things. But then I saw somewhere really, they grossed me out actually, some write-up. So the sensitivity with write something is, I think, very important. And as you rightly said, the message has to focus.
Priya has actually hit upon a very important issue, the sensitivity part. So I had asked Ashish this question in an Insta live as well. So how do you do your research, and do you check levels of employed beta readers? So that is actually, I think, important to have people from the community also read the work and maybe offer some critique or maybe correct some portions where they feel that, okay, this representation has to come out better. So I think Ashish has done an excellent job. It's just not superficial. He's actually done his research deeply for the book. He has also consulted beta readers from the community. So I think the 5-day plan will fit well with not just members of a particular community, but with the general audience as well. And it will not come off as superficial or just on the surface. It will be a proper read. It will be entertaining. I have already flipped through a few pages and I'm really enjoying this. I think I'm liking it better than Shy, because I mean, it's just a different experience. The episode that it took from the reality show, and I've been reading those, and it seems very real, and at the same time, it's very enjoyable. So I think it's going to do great. Let us come back to Lee. I think he has a few more things to say about the book. Lee, have you read Ashish's writing yet?
Well, it's interesting you say that, and or ask that, and Priya, you just raised a very interesting point, something I'd like to touch on as well. But first of all, let me thank Ashish for asking me to speak at the launch here. I'm very aware that authors choose their launch speakers carefully, and I'm truly honored to be here to speak about the 5-day plan. Now, I received, Chitra, I received my copy on Monday, just passed. And knowing that the launch was looming, I dove into it like immediately, right? Now that's not to say I wouldn't have read it anyway. I would, because I'm a fan. But like most in attendance here, I'm sure that your to be read list is a monster. I mean, I know mine is, right? So you see, the problem with TBR lists is they tend to grow into things larger than you can complete in your entire life. I mean, that's. I think I have to be about 186 now to finish all the books on my TBR list. But for writers, it's a double-edged sword, because we have to read to write, and it's an insatiable need for us to consume books at any given opportunity anyway. But it's a distraction, and most of us can't read while we're drafting, lest the contents of our chosen book or our chosen read kind of bleed into our own. At least that's the case for me. And I'm on the eve, like the very cusp of beginning a new project myself. And I was worried that starting a 5-day plan would delay my project, because I knew once I got into it, it would consume me, right? So I thought, well, I'll just power read it. I'll skim through it to prepare for the launch. And any of you that have read any of Ashish's work, his previous work, or have already picked up 5-day plan, you'll know I was lying to myself, because there's no way to power through his words. I mean, good reading is like immersing yourself in a warm bath, right? It's effortless, immediately comfortable, and it's futile to try to extricate yourself from it. So that's why we so often we wake up with a book on our chest, right? But this was the case with the 5-day plan. I mean, I tried to skim it, I truly did, but after only a paragraph or two, I found myself stuck on the wall of this makeup trailer like a fly, watching this quirky little doctor prepare for his appearance on a reality show. Right? And the next thing I knew, I'm in a booth in a London pub watching him at the bar, and like, damn you, Ashish. I mean, there's no way out of this now other than for me to turn the last page. And I'm sucked in and I'm invested, and for no other reason than, quite honestly, the brilliance of your writing. And I mean that sincerely. Speaking about writers, Hemingway said, we're all apprentices in a craft where no one ever becomes a master. And I agree with that. But while it may be true there are no masters, there are certainly mavens. And Ashish is one such storyteller, in my humble opinion. His words are rich and vibrant. His characters are true, clear, and you simply can't help but to be drawn into the world that he creates. Now, just to go back to Priya's point there, without giving anything away, I'd like to comment on the premise of the book. No spoilers. We're all aware of the socially tender subjects that are broached within the book. I mean, Ashish is what I think of as a refreshing maverick in the Indian literature landscape. But I'd like to comment on his style, which is what I think we were talking about. My personal writing mantra is write without fear. And when I put pen to paper, I refuse to allow communal conscience to censor my words, consciousness. I don't allow trends or cultures, or I don't fear the backlash from social justice warrior groups to dilute my story or dictate the direction I take. I just write. Now, that doesn't mean as a writer that you can simply stroll around with a big stick and bash people over the head. Your book should not really be a blunt instrument. And while some of the outlaw writers like Hunter S. Thompson or Jack Kerouac, they fire at you with a shotgun. But others like Mary Shelley or Douglas Adams, Hemingway himself, they tend to be a little bit more subtle. And I feel this is the case with Ashish. He tackles these emotionally charged topics very gracefully. And as good writers do, he prompts thought and acceptance through well-written verse. Now, it's no easy task to scream softly, but he does. And those of us who write will tell you, the art of gently manipulating the flow of a story, such as the 5-Day Plan, is an extremely difficult task. Yet Ashish weaves his way through this, like this pitfall-ridden landscape with grace and style and eloquence. And he truly is, well, he's a maverick maven, I think. And I felt I wanted to say that because I'm not deeply into the book yet, but I know I'm going to have no choice now but to read it straight through. And just in the first few chapters, this is where I'm at. These are the things that I've picked up. So I just thank you very much for asking me to speak here tonight, and I wish you great success with the book.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's going to do very, very well, and I'm absolutely looking forward to finishing it.
Thank you, Lee, for your interesting insights, and I'm sure you'll enjoy reading the rest of the book. I think we'll do a read along because even I'm starting on the book. Okay, then. Okay, let's move on. Next, we have a book excerpt reading. Ashish, could you just select a book excerpt so that readers can have a glimpse of what you...
Sure. So like Lee was mentioning, the first scene starts with a trailer, make up a van and then the next scene is about the actual filming of the, where the filming begins in the bar. So I'm just going to read a few paragraphs from that. They don't bite, mate. Fred, the bartender, stops me from surveying the camera placements. Are you sure those lenses are not wormholes that suck you in and crush you into minced meat under the shutters? The lights and the equipment are not helping my jangling nerves. Neither is the hidden mic tethered to my shirt. The volume button on my inner voice is a bit loose, and I'm not the most cultured rambler in the world. Fred is amused at my effort to dump the bags laden with the anxiety off my shoulder. What would you like to drink? He wipes the dark mahogany solid wood countertop and points me to the empty bar stool. I don't drink. It is by choice. No shade of golden brown bubbly liquids sits well with me. Mr. Beer and I had met years ago at a bar, kissed and then puked in front of a crowd. Not the smelling green kind, but equally humiliating. In my drunken verbal vomit, I had stumbled out of the closet to a group of strangers and expounded on the theory of love is love while trying to balance myself on a chair. What can I say? The wooden chair did seem a sturdy steed in the inebriated, liberated state of my mind. My lecture went on till the bouncer threw me out on the street. Since that day, I have avoided fraternizing with the bubbly liquids regardless of the bottles, shapes, and labels. So that's how
This- who haven't experienced writing yet can have a glimpse into what kind of impact his writing leaves. The setting was amazing, and we could actually feel the character's pain at being in front of the camera. Thank you, Ashish, for that amazing book excerpt. Let's move on to the next speaker. She is known for writing diverse characters. I mean, when people say romance, okay, romance has many subgenres. And if you just box romance in particular categories, it doesn't really fit well, because when people love to read romance, they just love to read romance. But yes, it can be challenging to, appeal to different kinds of romance readers. So that is, I think, an area that Suman will be able to address properly. She's known as PB Flower. It's a pseudonym. PB Flower is an Indian American author of several mind-bending and deceptively narrated sci-fi books. She has been forever intrigued by the concept of creation. Her husband introduced her to U.G. Krishnamurti's way of life, influencing her style. In her writing, she sensually places her conceptions to keep things grounded and challenges routine perspectives to measure the other side. Contrasting in quests like romance, science, supernatural, mythology, and metaphysics sets PB apart and gives her readers exciting stories to make a lasting impression. Her trilogy, All Kalnan, was a bestseller on Amazon, as was her short work of fiction, Yama Ekomaya. And currently her books, A Samra and I Subscribe, are doing very well on Amazon. So she'd be the best person to tell how challenging it is to write diverse characters and to appeal to general romance readers.
Thank you, Chitra, and congratulations, Ashish, for writing such a beautiful book. I was one of the ARC readers, and I am thrilled to say I was like, oh my God, because it was my first experience reading a true gay romance book. I had read one before. It was about a teenage boy, actually, and it wasn't that explicit. It was more, it was very sad, actually, the one that I had read before. This one had like a good balance of everything in it. You know, the 5-day plan, it is so expressive, and yet it had the balance that's needed. And I was taken aback, actually. I was like, and like Lee said, you just can't put it down. And that's what happened to me. I started reading it, and it started on a light note, a guy being all shy about his upcoming, TV show or something, the live TV show. And then I think eventually she started, introducing all the sensitive matters, but it was very balanced, because it will go back and forth with, the regular, life that you have, plus the sensitive matter hanging in the background, and then sometimes it would come in the foreground. But the balance was so good. I mean, it was superbly balanced, and that's what I loved about Ashish's book. And the character Dan, I was very impressed with Dan, especially with his father. I was like, his father gave me Amrish Puri vibes, if you know what I mean. I was like, that's what I felt when I was reading it. And I love that book. I love 5-day plan. It is really good. And I think, thank you, Ashish, because I would myself would have not picked up a LGBTQ romance book, but now I'm like, you know what? It's really nice. It's just like any other romance. There is just no difference. And I was so impressed by the way he has put all the romance scene in there between Akhil and Dan. And it's sensitive, of course, but it flowed so well. It was flowing so well that you just wouldn't know. You just wouldn't. You can't say that it's any different from any other romance. And that's how well it's been written. I think, like Lee said, it's your writing, Ashish, that has made it, come across so accepting and so balanced and expressive at the same time. So
Thank you
very
so
well written.
Totally agree with Suman. I mean, the subject is such that it is stereotype. Okay, so if you see something called labeled as a gay romance, and you immediately think these are cliches or there'll be some stereotypes or should we read this? But I think the beauty of Ash's writing is that he has normalized the entire process. It's just like any other romance book. And it has all the twists and turns and the HEA and everything, all the elements of romance book, just that the characters are men. It's just a gay romance, but it's normal. It's very real. The writing is beautiful, the settings are real, and you really relate to the characters.
It's not uncomfortable at all. It is very
Yes.
adorable, actually. Very
Yes. Yeah,
adorable.
the characters are really adorable.
Yeah.
In fact, the characters here are really dorky, I would say. Kind of the clumsy things that we do or we experience during our daily lives.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he just put together those very well. So let's move on to a person who knows a fair bit about the making of this book. Let's ask Niladri. So it is my utmost pleasure to introduce him. He is an author, editor, entrepreneur, and the founder of PCC. He has penned 6 books till date, including the best-selling Letters of Nine, and has edited over 26 books, some of which have gone on to win prestigious awards like Amazon's Pen to Publish, including my own. He founded the Creative Circle in 2021 with a vision to provide the best of services and support the writers of all genres. He's also the chief admin of TCC Writarium, a global community of authors and a publishing consultant and marketing expert. He takes great pride and pleasure in guiding and mentoring young authors in the pursuit of publication, and is always ready to offer his experience and expertise to anyone who seeks his assistance. Okay, right now, we do need his assistance in telling us about his experience with the 5-day plan.
Thank you, Chitra. And first of all, Ashish sir, congratulations. Another book out there and is doing well. So many congratulations on that. And thank you for letting me be a part of the creation of the book and giving me the chance to edit it. Now, as an editor, I'll say something, the same thing that is valid for Lee's book as well, that your job as an editor becomes more difficult when the writing itself is very good, because the fundamental job of an editor is to detect flaws in the writing, in the story, in the plot line, grammar, punctuation, and correct them. But what do you do when the author has not made many mistakes? Because if the author doesn't see the red and blue lines, then the author will say, where is my money's worth? Right? So it gets very difficult to edit a book which is well written, and Ashish sir's book was very, very well written. And I think Ashish sir knows, when I sent him the manuscript, the changes were very minimal. I hope they came in handy, the suggestions came in handy, but the changes were minimal. The writing was so good. Also, from a reader's perspective, and I'm pretty sure Ashish sir has seen the show as well, because he has mentioned it a couple of times in the manuscript. There is a very famous show called Schitt's Creek, and there is something very similar that I found, as has been discussed here also in the past few minutes, that the entire homosexual relationship was very normalized. Nobody really frowned. Nobody really, took an offense to it, as they would in a when viewing a heterosexual relationship. It was very normalized, and that is something that I, as a reader, really liked. And I also hadn't read a gay romance before, let alone working on one. This was my first time reading it. So as Ashish sir forwarded me the manuscript, I read the entire story first. I don't do that as an editor. I read about 60 to 70% of the story. But for this book, I thought I need to read the entire story first. So I read the entire story and then I started editing it. And that's why Ashish sir got a bit delayed as well because of me. I'm sorry for that, sir. But eventually it was great. It was just a brilliant experience, very different kind of experience working on the book. And I hope it does really, really well. So congratulations again, sir, and all the best.
Niladri, it was great hearing from you. We do like this behind the scenes, the making of a book. So we know all the hard work that's gone into it. Well, it's time for a very interesting session now, interaction session. So all of you are invited to ask questions, interact, discuss about the concept of the book, about the making of the book. So we have got people from Writarium, we've got Ashu, we've got Kostav, we've got Kinshuk. So you can ask your questions. We've also got some book lovers, Akanksha, Karabi. We've got TCC Shivani, we've got Charita, we've got Rekha and Nidhi from Team TCC. So please do interact and discuss about the book. It's now open for discussion.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Ashish, and congratulations on the book launch. And I want to say that it would be my first time that I will be reading on this genre. So I wanted to know that was there any writer's block for you, or everything was just smooth?
With this particular book, I don't think so. There was a writer's block because the character, the character, I don't plot, so the character has to speak to me. And Akhil was so vocal, I would say, and there would be moments where I would have to grab a piece of paper and write down, what was coming in my mind, the scene and everything. So for this book, there was never a writer's block. And Niladri would know, even just before hitting the publish button, we were exchanging notes on, what if we can add this or subtract this, change these words, add the scene somewhere. So even just one day before, 24 hours prior to hitting the publish button, that was going on. So for this, I didn't have a writer's block, thankfully.
Okay, thank you.
And one more thing I would like to add here, that when I sent him the suggestions, Ashish sir got back to me in 2 days of time, just 2 days. So it took him 2 days to again read 75,000 words of text and then incorporate the changes that I suggested and get back to me. So of course he had no writer's block because it was like a super fast, super express. It was like if you give a if I said no, your pizza is delivered in half an hour, it's free. It was that quick. So yeah.
Hi Ashish sir, congratulations on the publishing of your book.
Thank you so much.
I still haven't read it, but I am looking forward to. I just purchased it today. And I do remember reading Shy, and I could very well relate to Lee when he said that, you stay there with the characters. Because I think after reading Shy, I had contacted you and told you that Saran is just such a soft boy. I would have protected him so much. And I'm really looking forward to what reaction these two protagonists are going to get out of me. Because unlike many people here, I have read LGBTQI romances and I do read books in this genre very frequently. So I know what it is like when a writer has to approach these subjects with sensitivity. And you did mention that you had a few sensitivity reads done for every project of yours. So I would really like to know a little bit more about these reads or the readers that you were selecting for this.
So I would say for the first book, initially there was a lot of difficulty in finding the right people because, like you mentioned, many of these people, even on social media, are anonymous. They don't share who they are in real life. They are behind anonymous accounts, and so I was able to somehow break through that and reach out to a few people. And through them, the first book, they read the first book. For this book in particular, I had a dual problem. I needed someone from UK also to do it because I have been to London, but only as a tourist for a brief 2 to 3 days. And so I needed someone to read through this and identify, and especially because we were dealing with a family, entire family, not just one character, an entire family that's based out of UK. And again, I reached out on Goodreads, I would say, to a lot of groups. And from there, I was able to find a few sensitivity readers who read through the book and gave their excellent feedback. And so I think that's the way and then one step before Niladri editing, I also had a editor from UK look at the manuscript from the perspective of language and tone and tenor of the book, and especially the dialogue. So I think that helped a lot with this book, and that's how I'm seeing the reactions, positive reactions from that count because of that effort that was gone in.
Thank you so much. I hope the book
I
does
would
well.
add here something, what I did also was, and I think this is something that not just for LGBT, for any character that we are writing, which is different from us, and which would be, I would say, 90% of characters, because we won't write ourselves. It'll become a memoir, isn't it? Non-fiction. So if you're writing fiction, 90% of your characters are not who you are. Social media presents us with a very good opportunity. So you identify people from that background, and you see what is happening in their lives and how they are presenting themselves, how they are interacting with others. And that's a very, very good learning, and a very good, I would say, a real life assessment of how to build those characters. I think that's what has helped me a lot with these characters, right, for Shy and also for the 5-day plan.
I think Akanksha has a question.
Yes, Akanksha.
Yeah, firstly, I congratulate you, Ashish, and I have a question like, can you share any interesting, memorable experiences you had while researching or writing this book?
While researching or writing this, I think one interesting thing, I have already spoken about how I went into this book. So that is one, I think, that is very interesting, because then I had to look at a lot of other dating shows from the LGBT community and look at how it worked. About the language, the British tone and accent. And it was a very big challenge for me, because to capture that accent into paper is difficult. And there are two thoughts on this in the writing community. One thought says, no, you don't verbalize it in the words. So you don't change the pronunciation, syntax in the word, in what you write. And there is another group that says, no, you should do that. So the interesting part was I had to look at a lot of British sitcoms, and and listen to them, and look at them and how they were speaking, how they were, what words, phonetics were coming out. And I wrote the first, second draft with all those phonetics and everything. And like I said, I sent this to a sensitivity reader, and they said that take them all out. Take them all out. And I was like, what? So I would say the entire dialogue of Dan and the family, the British family, had to be rewritten once that feedback came in, that you don't really need to do it. It's already enough the way you have framed the sentences and the way you have presented the sentences. That's good enough. You don't need to use those phonetics, or abbreviate those words to make it sound British. So I would say that was an interesting part of developing this book.
Again, I would like to add something if I have the permission. What I found is, and not only for this book, but for other books as well, when you want to create a sort of atmosphere of a different country or a different language than your indigenous language, the best way to do it is use slangs. Okay, like normal things that people say in their usual language, but just add something here there. Okay, like if you're talking, let's say for an example, if you're writing Australian character, just put in a few mates. It's simple as that. So the slangs help create the atmosphere and give the readers the sense of the nationality of the character, or that flavor of the character. And Ashish had done it completely, so I had to add almost nothing to it. So he had done completely the slangs. When you read the book, and Suman has read the book, Lee's reading, I think you'd know that there are a lot of slangs used, especially in the way the characters talk. Okay, even in the way Akhil talks, because he's been there for some time. He's been in England for some time, and then he's very fond of plants. So how to get that in? So whenever we say like, oh God, or oh whatever, he takes a name like, oh Marigold. So that is just a way he thinks. Okay, and it really helps to develop the character, and it was done perfectly well. So brilliantly done.
He's even mastered the language in his social media work. So you can see the language in which
Yeah.
he tweets, the style in which he messages. So all of that is there. So those are very different from the normal text, but again, very appealing.
And the funny thing is that I've never been to UK, I've never been to England, never been out of the country. Okay, but when in my IT job, I mostly dealt with UK clients from UK. So I spoke with Britishers for 5 years, and so in 5 years, I think I've spoken to a few thousand, if not lakh, Britishers. So the way they talk and in calls, it used to go for 20-30 minutes, and some of them really like to speak and talk, especially the people on the older side. They have nothing to do, they're retired, they're sitting at home, some guy calls them and they're like, okay, let's talk to this guy. So yeah, I spoke with a lot of Britishers, so that actually gave me a little bit of leeway and a little bit of advantage while editing the book and getting to know the diction and the vernacular.
Thank you, Ashish sir. I'd just like to take a few minutes to talk to our members from Writarium. Ashu, Kinshuk, and Costa, you've been here since the very beginning of the session. Do share your thoughts on the launch and any messages for Ashish and the readers.
Hi,
Yeah, so
hi everyone. So I'm joining your meet for the first time, and as it is actually, I'm a very introvert person, and I just put everything I want to say in my writing. So first of all, I would like to congratulate Ashish sir for such a beautiful book that he's produced, and I'm definitely going to read this. I mean, this is all sounding so interesting, and this topic, the slangs that you've all been discussing. I mean, I was so interested in listening to all that, because these things I've been using in my Hindi stories also for quite a long time. I just love to use those words, like Haryanvi typical or Bihari typical. I mean, it gives like life to your writing. So I can understand when he was saying that he was putting in those words, how he must have felt while putting in those words. So I'm definitely going to read this book. I mean, it's so different, and then I'm going to give my reviews also to him, and I just want to congratulate him right now because
Thank you so much.
Ashu, lovely having you here. Kinshuk, you're saying something?
yeah, hi everyone. So first of all, many congratulations to Ashish sir for this book, and I am definitely looking forward to read this. I have never read a book in such a genre, so looking forward to it. And this is my first book launch, so it was a great experience, and glad to meet you all.
Thank you, Kinshuk. Great to meet you too.
Yeah,
Also,
thank
hi.
you.
We're meeting here for the first time. You're not audible.
Congratulations, Ashish sir, for the this
Thank you so much.
wonderful gesture. I'm definitely looking forward to read it. And I want to ask one thing, sir, that any message you want to give to the young readers who are aspiring to write, because from here on, sir, there will be two categories of people. One who will have their dream published, of their dream like ticked of publishing a book, and the other category being those one who will be in the dilemma of writing and not writing that thought. So any message to the young readers for inspiring them to write?
That's a very good question, Kaustubh. I think, writing, I believe, is a very deep and very personal creative work. In contrast to art, art, when you are painting or you're drawing, is something that is more about aesthetics. But when you're writing, there is a lot that is going on. There's a lot of depth in the emotion in your thoughts. So if you want to write it for yourself. Don't think about, will I get a 6-figure deal? Don't think about, will Penguin or random some big publisher pick it up. Write the characters, write the story for yourself. If you enjoy your writing, I'm sure we are nearly 7 billion people on this earth. You will find at least 1,000 like you who would enjoy this book as much as you would like it. And as an author, I would say as a writer, the thing that gives me joy is when I see a reviewer, a reader, uh, post a review where they connect with the character in the way that I connected with the character. So that gives you the greatest satisfaction, I know. But if you're going to be running after a certain publisher or a certain figure, um, it might not be, it might put you off because this is a very hard journey for all of us. There's a lot of gatekeeping, there are a lot of hurdles to jump at every stage. So write for yourself, enjoy your writing, enjoy your characters.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, and congratulations once again.
So Karavi, Shivani, you must be waiting to enter.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations, Ashish sir, for your book.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to ask that if a reader who is not aware of this community, LGBTQ community, and suppose the reader is picking up this book, and so the reader will get that message that for the community that yes, something like this also exists, like
Yes, I get your point, Ravi. Again, it's a very fair and good question. Uh, one of the reasons, one of the, I would say, motivations to writing this genre was exactly what you said. Uh, these books become, talking points. So when Shai came out, uh, a lot of people who know me in my network, as official network or personal network, they got back and said, they were surprised, and so that becomes a, I would say, talking point, and it helps me to understand their perspective. It also helps me from what research I have done to at least guide them to where they need to look. So I'll just give you uh, two instances that were brought to my notice by readers in my network. Uh, so one reader came back and said, they were reading this book in a park, and somebody came up to them and said, what are you reading? They saw the cover, um, and they said, there are two males and this is a romance novel. So what are you reading? And this reader explained to them, this what is the concept in the book, and that person felt safe enough, a stranger felt safe enough to sit down with this reader and tell them that, I also belong to this community and I'm so happy to meet someone who is, whom I can talk to uh, about myself. And they had a small discussion, which of course I'm not privy to, but I think that is my six figure for that book. Um, that is my six figure. Another incident that happened was someone got back to me and said that, they had someone in their family who was facing a lot of issues because they belong to the community, and they wanted to help this person, help the family understand this person, and help the family accept this person. And so I could help them. They reached out. If this book had not been there, they would not have spoken to me. They reached out to me, and I said, okay, let me see. I was able to identify a group, a person who could help them, and then I connected those two parties. So these books, I would say, one are talking points. Second, I think, as a reader, if you are going to, just read about yours, people like you, that's going to limit you. Purpose of reading is to expand your horizons. So to expand your horizons, it's very important to read different kind of books from different authors from different backgrounds, and that will help you understand and also expand, your understanding and your. It'll break down those barriers that we think that are there in front of us. It'll break down our opinions that we hold. It will break down our prejudices that we hold when we read diverse books.
You see, that is such a heartwarming thing you've just said, and I can't imagine what it must be like to be in your position as a writer, as an author, and to receive such positive vibes back from something that you've written. I mean, it's what we all strive to do. And it just, again, it lends itself to the point of the power of your writing, to the power of your words and how good it actually is to be able to reach into the community like that and to get such positive vibes from something that you've created. It must be a wonderful feeling. Congratulations, seriously. I mean, all anybody ever asks me is how to smuggle drugs and how to hide a body, you know? So, I mean, it's so positive. Congratulations, seriously, that's wonderful.
Thank you, thank you.
I relate on that point with you, Lee. That's all that, that are expected of people like us. Where do ghosts come from? Where time dilates, things like that are our forte. These things are better left to Ashish, sir,
Yes, Shivani, she was trying to speak.
Yeah.
You're not audible, Shivani.
Yeah. Vani, your voice is breaking, I think.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, this is better.
Okay, so many congratulations, sir. I have read a few books from this genre, but they were sad. But you were all discussing like it has fun part too. So I am really looking forward to read it. I have this copy as well. I have its copy as well. So really looking forward. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shivani. Rekha, concluding words?
Definitely, I want to. I don't want to miss this chance. Congratulations, Ashish sir. Your first book, Shy, was my first book on reading on gay romance, and I know what I will be reading in this 5-day plan. I'm looking forward to read more of comedy because the character that stuck in my mind from Shy is Dadi, and the reason I attend these book launches, the preparation authors do. I love to find know the preparation they do, and the way you explained that how you are able to know about them through social media. It's very true, sir, because when I wrote the Shy review, a community reached out putting a message that we will go through this book. This book sounds interesting. So, and also the way you said you had to do research on the slang of writing the people who are living in UK. The same you did for Shy also, because they are living in Australia. I could read that, I could know that they are the characters from that place, that country. So you get the humor part in the book very effortlessly. How do you do that? So that's my
How do you maybe I'm a funny person, that's why. So the way I was thinking about this, because somebody else asked me this, and I would credit this to my college friend, very close friend is there, and I would say in my circle of friends, he is the king of one-liners. And so, and you had to be on your toes to meet him on those lines. So I think that's where I would say my humor comes from. And I think that's how it comes, how I've been able to write. And what it also happens, you need to get into the character. And a 5-day plan, one challenge that I had was to come up with those, incidents, I would say. There's a lot of incidents in this. So to come up with those incidents, not to be, I would say repeating them, to pin bring the comedy in that and the situation in that. So that was how. That.
Thank you for sharing that. That information, it helps us to create more and more for the young writers who are here, to get an inspiration to write and also delicately write about subjects that they want to write about. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rekha. So we've all heard a lot about the 5-day plan today. It's available on all major platforms. It's available in ebook and in paperback. Lots of people are getting the downloads done, the purchases done. So don't miss out on the special inaugural price that's there right now, because you might miss out on that. Okay, so the prices might go up. So please do get your copies as soon as possible. Please do share with your family and friends. Make this viral. Please do share on your stories. Recommend it to your friends. You might want to try out a different read for this week. So please do get the 5-day plan. Ashish sir, concluding words, any thoughts on the 5-day
I think the first thing is I would like to thank everyone and to TCC for organizing this. And it's been a very good experience. I hope and I believe you will enjoy it because this I enjoyed writing it, and I believe Akhil is a very adorable and very likable character. And you may hate Dan a little bit in the beginning, but he'll get on you. He'll surprise you at some stage and knock you out. One more thing that I would like to say about is this cover is special to me because this cover has been done by me, and entirely like you have the first draft and then you have the nth draft. The cover also had the first draft and the nth draft, and even again, Niladri would remember, even on the publishing day, the cover was not aligning with the the softwares and the publishing platforms, and I was like, literally, I was about to give up and say, okay, forget it, I'll have to get a cover done, and then ultimately it worked out. So when you see Akhil on the cover, carry that image when you are reading this book, because that is what this person is actually. This character is in the book. And thank you once again for being here and giving your time for this session. Thank you so much.
So much, guys. It's been wonderful interacting with you. Thank you for giving your time and discussing about the book. It's been lovely meeting you. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, the Creative Circle official channel on YouTube. Please like this video and share it on your feed, share it on Twitter, on all social media channels that you are. And don't forget to download and purchase this beautiful book by Ashish Rastogi. The cover is amazing, the writing is amazing, and I'm sure that you will enjoy reading this. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a nice time.
Congratulations, Ashish, once again.
Thank you.